Welcome to the Faceoff. Today, we're covering the topic of decentralized travel versus managed travel. Let's get together and get the group here. Here we are. Hi, I'm Caroline Meyer from Get Travel Solutions, a founder and principal consultant. And today I have co-hosting with me, Greeley Koch from 490 Consulting. Hi, Greeley.
Hi, good morning. Good afternoon.
That's right. Good morning and good afternoon, depending where you're dialing in from. We have Bill Holgate, the VP of Sales and Account Management from Simmer. And we have Carol Fergus, our Director of Global Travel, Meetings, and Ground Transportation. Welcome, Bill and Carol, to the Face-Off. Why don't we get started? And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We're so excited. So Greeley and I, we tend to talk to our customers a lot, and we're talking a lot about this decentralized travel, and it's coming up in topics with us, and people are wondering what it is. And so we thought we'd kick it off by asking Bill, what is decentralized travel? What is the difference between this and managed travel? Can you help us out with that?
Hope so.
Great.
Now, first of all, to you, Carolyn, and really thank you for inviting me to be part of this face-off and to join Carol in talking about a topic that it has been talked about. I think it's been misunderstood. And in today's brief 30 minutes, we probably won't solve or answer every question that people have, but hopefully peel back enough of the mystery to help others to figure out what path to further pursue understanding decentralized travel. It's a key component of Web3, another term you might or might not have heard of. It's not another philosophy about how to run your travel program. It's an enabling infrastructure that will open up new possibilities for the industry. Web 1 was the beginning of the internet, and everybody needed a website, and now you could book travel online. Web 2 saw the growth of large companies where data and content were centralized and controlled by these large intermediaries. Think about companies like Expedia, Concur, and many others that have grown during Web 2. Web 3 is the beginning of decentralization, and it's powered by the capabilities of the blockchain. And we see new companies every day that are moving forward with Web 3 initiatives. Decentralized travel can empower managed travel by introducing new capabilities that aren't available today. It does not mean unmanaged. It means removing the unnecessary costs and impediments to innovation. One of those most important innovations are smart contracts. They'll revolutionize the way that we think about contracts by automating the administration, the tracking, and the performance of your agreements. It'll bring a single source of truth to your agreements and eliminate disputes with suppliers about your performance. Can you imagine that? Smart contracts will improve the travel booking process and the experience for travelers. They'll be offered specific agreed upon benefits at the point of sale. And I guess the final point about decentralized travel is it's a foundational change. It's coming in the coming months and years. Think of it as an upgrade to the plumbing of the travel industry, a migration, not an evolution. And just like the early days of online booking, it will take time for adoption. And just like online booking, it will start with innovative early adopters. I hope that helps.
Yeah, it helps a little bit.
Yeah, that's great. And I think, so Carol, let's turn to you as representing the managed travel side, right? Running a large global program based in London. So a couple of notes I took down from Bill. It's not unmanaged. It's not making, managed travel unmanaged. It's about smart contracts, single source of truth. So hearing that, how do you look at this and this decentralized versus managed travel?
Well, when I first heard decentralized, I was like, oh my God, that's the worst thing. That's the last thing I need at this moment in time. The way that the travel industry is really crazy, to suddenly have a program that instantly you think, let the travelers go wild, does not fill me with joy. the way that managed travel is, I mean, I call it my one-stop shop. So it's a way of controlling what I do across the various pillars. So it will be my people and my travelers. It will be my policy and compliance. It will be my reporting. It will be my data. It will be the way I manage my third-party providers. But having it all essentially managed allows me to keep my finger on the pulse in an easy way. It also allows me to give communication and market my program in a way that's structured, as opposed to allowing people to go out there and do what they want. What interests me was to talk about smart contracts. I'd be interested to hear a little bit more about that. And the reason why I say that is within our organization, we have an initiative where we're trying to reduce our supplier portfolio. The cost of onboarding suppliers for our company is significant. So the one of the key things, objectives for me, is to find a way of centralizing my suppliers without having lots of people that I have to deal with and onboard them as an individual supplier. So having managed travel allows me to do that. So when you talk about smart contracts, what that says to me is lots of relationships with different people. So it'd be interesting to hear about that. Also about the whole piece around cost and managing those costs and reducing costs. Also, all buyers would be interested in ways of reducing our costs, especially when we're going down the sustainability route and the way the markets are at the moment with resource being scarce. What you see is an increase in costs, not a reduction in costs. So that would be interesting for me. And then upgrading, that's always music to my ears. I'm one of the buyers that I'm always looking for new opportunities because I say we have to be the best. So managed travel is about, bringing everything together. Smart contracts is of interest to me. Reducing my costs, absolutely, definitely. And I'm on board for anything that's going to make me look good.
Right on. Bill, can you make her look good?
Carol, I'll just respond to one of your points here. You talked about managing contracts and managing partners, vendors, suppliers, and that's one key component. But I think the big component beyond how you manage that is actually automating your agreement to ensure that you get that performance, what you negotiated for. Whether it was a hotel program that you negotiated in breakfast for your travelers, whether it's soft dollars that you negotiated with your suppliers. How are those soft dollars administered? A smart contract at the point of sale could say, this traveler is entitled to this based on your agreement, and actually execute on that and provide back to you in a way, in an immutable agreement, that no one can go in and modify, doctor it up, tell you your numbers aren't the same as my numbers. So not just managing the numbers of contacts you have, but taking that administration into the real world and actually being able to ensure that what you negotiated for is what you're getting. And that plays to not only helping you administratively, that also helps you financially. I negotiated these agreements. I used our size, our leverage in this city pair, in this hotel, whatever it might be. I would like to know that that's actually what I'm that I'm receiving. And then another point that I've heard from many travel managers, I heard it from you as well. The reliance and the challenge you have right now in finding people to help you with your program. So if there's components, aspects of your contracts, the measurement, the execution, the going back and forth with suppliers that could be automated, that attacks not only the cost, but it attacks this challenge of people. Now, it doesn't address it today. It doesn't make it go away today. But Web3 and blockchain and smart contracts, they're not something we came up with. They're something that are already out there in play. In your company, in the financial services side and banking, automotive, healthcare, supply chain, telecommunications, it's already happening. So travel is oftentimes slow in adapting to change and embracing things that are coming in other industries. Travel has been slow in adapting to change because of our reliances on the intermediaries and the cost structure that we have today. So there needs to be a solution to help move travel forward. And that's really what we're trying to address.
I think that if I could jump in for a second, and I think sometimes this is a definitional issue, if that's a correct word to use, right? Because we know decentralized kind of came from how it's a term being used in the financial services, right? We're going to decentralize the finance side. But I think when we bring that term into corporate travel, Carol, exactly what you were saying, your mind first goes to, wait, I don't want to decentralize. I've spent the last umpteen years centralizing everything to do everything that you just said, one-stop shop, data, getting your travelers along that. Here comes the term decentralized travel. And I think that's, to me, is what's unnerving. But I guess this is, I don't know if we're getting caught up in a definition issue, because I think, Bill, it's not about less control, right? So I think back to what Carol was saying, Carol, right? You're concerned when I hear this term, I'm losing control, not gaining control.
Yeah, I think that's right. And even listening to the further explanation of this, when you talk about, having these smart contracts and having an understanding of what it is that you're buying, well, from my thinking, a good buyer should have their hand on the pulse in terms of, well, I do understand what I'm buying. If you're defining it by having this, in terms of automation, it gives you an opportunity to pull that data through one central place. So you may have hundreds of suppliers, but they go into one box, and you can pull that information and understand your activity. Then that's a different definition, because you're getting that centralization. The block becomes the TMC, and you pull your suppliers into that block, which will enable you to have visual of activity, and your travelers will go into that block in the same way that they go into the TMC, only this time, instead of going to, say, TMC A, they will go to the specific supplier that is housed within your block. If you're saying that's how it works, then obviously that makes sense. But if you're saying that you have a different block for each supplier, and your travelers have to go into an individual block in order to get the service that you want, but it will be automated, that's, for me, wouldn't work.
Yeah, Carol, I think, go back to my original term there, it's the plumbing. On the front end, it's the same faucet. Travelers, the last thing we need is for travelers scrambling for, now, wait a second, I got that smart contract, but I've got to go over here to get this, and I've got to do this to get that. That'd be setting us back, decades. I think it's how can we help this process? How can we help you with your goals? You mentioned TMCs and where people go, and there's so many intermediaries today. As decentralization takes place, again, I said over the coming months and years, there's going to be changes. There's going to be changes to the roles that TMCs play. They're service providers. They're not going away, nor are any other of the intermediaries that can truly provide value to the buyer. At the end of the day, this is your money, Carol. It's the buyer's money. So as this model changes, as people start to adapt to the technology, those that are the intermediaries are going to have a greater emphasis on providing value for what they actually provide. Suppliers are looking for help. Airlines are looking for help. They've got to lower their costs. This will clearly do that, not only by lowering their distribution fees, but think about the payment of merchant fees out there, 2.5% to 3.5%. What if through blockchain-enabled technology, that could be at 1%? Could those savings be passed on to an improved product or to the corporate customers who are actually performing? So there's, the roles are going to change. And I think right now in our very brief call, it's hard to tackle all that at one point, but hopefully that helps you, because what we don't want to see is technology pushing things backwards. Well, now I don't know where to go and I got the smart contract, but that's not the case. The plumbing is behind the scenes. Everything on the front end needs to be what travelers are familiar with.
So based on what you've just said there, obviously you said this will take time, and as with everything, especially when it's changing technology, changes in technology and innovation, people have to think about it, and invariably there'll be the innovators, but there'll be certain people that will just follow. They will allow it to evolve, let the teething problems happen, like online booking tool, and then they start jumping in when most of the difficulty has gone away. So, you know, this has been around for a long time. Organizations are talking about it, and there are some people that have jumped on board and is using this type of system. Do you believe long term that there's two questions here. One, is it something me as a buyer, could my organization jump on board and sidetrack the TMCs? So the TMCs out there are going to go, please don't say yes, that's not what we want to hear, but it needs to be asked. And is that an option? And then the second thing is, do you believe that this is going to be a partnership in terms of how it's driven and how it evolves? Or do you think it's something that organizations will bring out there and say, we want this, or the TMCs will say, we have this, and this is the future?
Yes.
To all.
Yes.
Everybody? You're going to say all of them, Bill?
Yes. I just, yes is a good answer. By the way, really to your earlier point about the term decentralization, I think it should be called teddy bear. It's just something nice and cuddly, and everybody likes it.
I'm making a note of that.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So Carol, your point is great. And I've tried to set the right expectations. This isn't the door's open. Come on, everybody. You know, for us as a company and others in this space, it's about use cases. It's about proving out the value. I mentioned a bunch of things that we can attack. It's about proving out the value. How did that happen in online travel? When I was at ITN, before it was Get There, we had one corporate travel company, Texas Instruments, say, we want to try this. And they started trying it. And all the other buyers in the room who said, not for me, started saying, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? And the next buyer came, and the next buyer came. It takes time. And I think it's the nature of the travel industry and travel management. Of the population of travel buyers today, not everybody's an innovator. They don't have to be. They're doing enough in their program to do their job well.
Yeah.
But it does take the help of innovators who have the vision, the courage, the support of management to go out and be part of this. That's really my message to the industry is, if you can, come out and help us explore this, because, you know, this is a system. As I said, it's not a philosophy. And it's going to take these proof points. That's what's going to happen over the next year or two.
Well, Bill, let me just stop you right there, because if you know, I know in the past, sometimes when we're rolling out new programs, right, you do the big bang and you roll everything out around the world at the same time. Is this something that it's more conducive to pilot or test, right? So that you're not betting the farm, so to speak, on one way, to what Carol was talking about, like, is my TMC going to be upset with this? So is this something that you test? And if so, how would you fence it and test it that you can get some benefits that you go, okay, this is
it's absolutely something. That really, it's in a piloting phase. It's in a proof of concept phase. And it's with all kinds of companies on the payment side, on the smart contract side, with airlines, with hotels. Everybody's out there piloting what works, what doesn't work. How do we tune this up? Carol, to your earlier point about, well, do we jump on and sidetrack the TMC? No. You know, there's new generation TMCs who are already, you know, understanding this, and we're engaged with some of those companies. You know, the startup companies like ours and others, they're looking for partners who understand what the challenge is and figuring out how can we help one another. So there's not a move to say, let's sidetrack the TMC and make a move. But maybe down the road, there's a more interested move of, we want more direct booking capabilities. We want our TMC to only provide these services. Again, to my earlier point, it's your money, Carol. It's your corporate money. And your last point that you made, Carol, was, well, do I believe in the concept of partnership? That's exactly what it is. It's a partnership between technology enabling companies to figure out how we can help each other to take on these sizable challenges that have been with us for decades. It's about a partnership with a corporation and their travelers and what you want to do, particularly in a use case. And to Greeley's question, there's different ways you can approach it. So let's say, Carol, that you and I were going to work with a pilot and you wanted to test out some aspects. Okay, maybe we isolate a group of travelers. I just want to work with this group that's in this sector of our company they're frequent travelers, there's 10 of them, there's 100 of them. I want to really work with you on smart contracts as it pertains to hotels or specific with a carrier. So it's, it could be that approach. It could be working with another provider who is interested in what they can do to enhance their guest travel, their recruit travel. How can I make that a better experience? It's hard to find good people now. It's hard to keep good people now. With what we've all gone through in the last few years in the industry, taking better care of those travelers, whether they are recruits or your current frequent travelers, is going to be more critical. It's a problem that's not going to go away. So in terms of doing the pilots, there's different approaches you can take, and it depends on who's involved in that pilot.
Good. I think usually when we start something new, we do a beta anyways, especially with this one, I would insist on a beta group. But I did want to ask, we had a couple questions come in. So there's one long one from Osh. Thank you, Osh, that I think we've covered, but I just want to make sure we didn't. So I'm going to go ahead and read it out loud. So Osh is asking, what would be great to know? What is being decentralized, ? The TMC services, the GDS services, the travel manager, the agreements, the data. And if this is too long, we can take this Bill offline and answer Osh directly. But those are some very good points.
I'll use my
questions rather. Yeah.
Yes. No, I think, I'm not going to try to delve into all aspects of that. Again, remember, decentralization is the infrastructure. Mm-hmm. In a decentralized environment, Carol's going to operate as she operates today. The things that she's going to be taking advantage of are things that now I've got to go through this and I've got to put the secret password in there. Decentralization is how suppliers and buyers are going to be able to connect peer-to-peer, any to any. Marketplaces are going to evolve where these relationships will be able to allow this connection. There's going to be a host of different hybrid relationships. It's not going to be an any or all. It's going to be a balance of where are you using it? Is it something that you're using for payment? Is it something you're using just to access smart contracts to help around that booking process? When you say GDS services, this is not GDS services. Suppliers are not looking for a new way to figure out how to push more stuff through GDS. This is creating a new infrastructure that will allow corporate travel, suppliers, travelers, and intermediaries to work more closely with each other.
Okay. I have a follow-up question around the smart contracts that came from the audience. What resources are available to manage a bundle of smart contracts? How do I migrate that direction if I'm one person managing like a large travel account?
Yeah, and if I could just add on to that, Carol, it goes to what Carol was saying too. You're trying to reduce your supplier base, right? You don't want to add more. So
right.
To manage this and to manage the smart contracts and all this, does this take more? Right. Mm-hmm. I think, and that's
more
a question coming from Todd. Yeah.
Exactly.
How would you manage this?
Magic word is automation. How much manual labor and effort are you spending today to manage contracts? Forget about what smart contracts are. Smart contracts will automate it, will provide a single source of truth about what you're actually doing in that agreement and take away that dispute in there. But how do you manage contracts today? And how valid are they? How effective are they in actually getting the achieved results? When do you actually find out that you achieved that result? How long did it take to get to what your report said versus what their report said? And then what do you do about it when you're maybe 90 days behind the fact of that it happened? So it's, how are you managing it today? And I wouldn't think about it of something that you're adding time, but actually taking away from the complexity of it. When you look at managed travel and these questions that we had, and Carol's done a great job of talking about it, travel managers are walking that really fine line between what we kind of call control, I got this thing, and choice. My travelers want to do what they want to do. They're younger, it's a new generation. They consume information differently. They consume and execute on travel differently. So today I'd say that managed travel is far from being truly managed, no matter how many steps and processes you put in place. 2019 data say that 30% of all air, car, and hotel bookings are booked off channel. Is that managed? Of that 50 to 60%, I've heard numbers 45 to 60% of hotel leakage. Is that managed? What if that could be pulled in? And whether it's, again, through a centralized site or these you've negotiated and used the benefit of smart contracts to better direct your travelers to the best suppliers in a way that works best for those travelers. Working smarter, I think, is a key to it. So managed travel, as hard as we work at it today, travelers are seeing that in a different light. And there's some corporations, to this earlier thing of decentralized, there's other corporations out there that are embracing open booking. They're building systems and structures around it. This is a way that open booking could be facilitated without you losing control.
Okay. Well, we're getting more questions and we're also coming up on time. So the smart contracts is interesting because we were going to title this Faceoff smart contracts, but we entitled it something else, which drove us into this, and people are asking more information about it. So
I think we know what the follow-up one will be, right? About smart contracts.
How do these work, right? So
right.
yeah, we'll do it. We'll promise you we'll do a smart contract face-off on just that topic. And these questions are in the chat. If you have any questions and you didn't get them in, please feel free to put them in the chat. What we will do is take them from the chat because they're all recorded, and we will answer them. We'll answer you directly. We'll answer you in either LinkedIn or in an email, but we will get back to you. We won't leave you hanging. Certainly, all four of us are here for you. Okay, so I just want to make sure that was out there. Any final thoughts, Carol, from you on everything you've heard today about decentralized travel? Any takeaways, or like, did you learn something either before you got on or after the session that was you saw as maybe an improvement, something you would look at for decentralized, or you're like, my program's good?
I think listening, especially the last part of this session, I am walking away thinking I need to learn more. Okay. From my initial thoughts was I wouldn't want to move from managed travel, but I'm prepared to be open-minded and look at a decentralized option. But I think the discussion today leaves me with more questions than answers, because I do think it's quite complex in terms of really understanding it. And my final thought was that there still needs to be some sort of control. I get that, the younger generation want more choice. I get that. But I'm finding it hard to understand why we couldn't give them that choice through a managed program. And I still don't get the why I would do that. So I think it leaves me with more questions than answers.
Good.
Okay. And that is good. Good. So I have more questions too. I agree with you. And Bill, do you have any closing thoughts? What'd you learn today from the buyers and the folks who are asking questions?
I think Carol's is the perfect outtake. I want to learn more because this could be important to me. Carol, this isn't about taking away control. It's going to enhance your capabilities. You mentioned, Carol, yesterday in a prep call, your priorities: customization, personalization, technology to support your program, sustainability goals, and how to address costs. I think we talked about that in several different ways. As to personalization, the capabilities through decentralized computing and decentralization of travel is going to give suppliers a much more effective way in offering bundles to travelers and improve that personalization. Technology, I talked about several different ways how we're going to impact it with smart contracts, and I'm glad we had such great interest today. Didn't talk much about sustainability. That's for another session, but smart contracts could also help direct you using embedded rules to the best sustainability option. And then finally, cost. Suppliers are trying to lower their costs. They're trying to improve how they connect to you. So we covered a broad range of items in there. I know there have been a bunch of questions that have come in. That's really all I wanted to accomplish today. Is there are a lot of questions, but they won't get answered if we turn our back because we don't understand it, or we get locked into the model that has haunted us all of my career. And that is, why can't we move away from these legacy systems?
Right, right. Okay. And if you want to, Bill and Carol, if you want to put your email in the chat or a contact, that's fine. I put mine if you'd like them all to kind of funnel through me and send them to you. That's cool also. And Greeley, if you want to put your email in there, feel free. Otherwise, I'll act as the moderator and get all the questions out to everybody. Did see quite a bit in here. This is all really good stuff. So interested to review these afterwards. Greeley, did you have any takeaways from today for you and I as consultants? What are we thinking after you heard all this?
Right. Yeah. No, I think it goes to its early days. There's a lot to be learned. And clearly from the discussion with Carol and Bill, I've learned a lot. And I know that seeing the questions are still more to be discussed out there. So it's early days. I know I've had people calling me, asking me about it, and it's fun to have these conversations as we navigate this path and figure out what will stick and what will not. So appreciate the conversation. Thank you for letting me be a co-host today. It's been fun, and I look forward to getting some answers back to everybody that's sending some questions.
Yeah, and I think the topic was great from my perspective. I learned a little bit today as well, and would like to learn more. I feel like we're using a lot of acronyms. I shared this with Greeley, and a lot of like different words for the same thing, which is confusing me. So, and then people think when you say decentralized, they think deregulation, or it has all these connotations to it. So people get confused, and they think we're taking the GDS away, we're taking the TMC away, we're taking online booking tools away. And then last I would say is that I know that's all not true, right? But we'll talk more about this and send some more information, and we'll also do a write-up to help you all. But yeah, I would say those are some scary things to say, to get on and say, you're going to take away GDS or TMC. And I was waiting for someone to ask that or say something. So I just said it. It's out there.
Caroline, just
ahead.
Remember what I said.
Yes.
It's soft and heavy.
That's right. Not decentralized, right?
Yeah.
Not decentralized, eh? Well, thank you everybody for joining us. We really appreciate it. We had a great event. We're going to cut off for this time, and we'll see you in June. Stay tuned for our next event. We'll put it out on LinkedIn again, and it will probably be something as a follow-up to this. We try to keep current with our topics, either smart contracts or something around this, or maybe something around sourcing, continuous sourcing. Okay, guys. Thanks so much. Thank you, Greeley, Carol, and Bill. I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers.
Thank you.